And I know that our landscape contractor members and all the other members will be interested in seeing this PowerPoint that y'all are going to present today and the information you're going to give. As we always do, we want to thank PNC Bank for taking time to provide this important information. Today, we've got Jessica Stiver, Honori Hernandez, and Sean Vernon. And who's going to start today? Jessica?
So just to give everybody an introduction, first off, I want to thank you guys for your time. So thank you so much for joining this presentation. Very excited just to get to have an overview conversation of what we're seeing, what we're hearing out there as we're talking to different clients, and just an overall way where we can go through and educate on the things that are available that maybe you weren't aware that are available to you as a business owner. So introduction of myself. Again, my name is Jessica Stiver. I am the Food, Beverage, and Agribusiness Treasury Management Officer for PNC Bank. I cover 27 different food, beverage, and agribusiness relationship managers across the entire PNC footprint. So, as we referenced earlier, I got lots of snow. I sit here in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and work with different clients such as yours right across the entire footprint of the bank. And then joining me are two of my partners that I do work with located in our Georgia, Alabama area. And that is going to be Sean Vernon and Honori Hernandez. And I'll let you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Yes, good morning, members and all future viewers. My name is Sean Vernon. I'm the food, beverage, and agribusiness banker. I support the bankers here in Atlanta, South Georgia, and South Alabama, going down to Mobile. So what I do, I support businesses in the food, beverage, and agribusiness, mainly the green segmentation. I support them in all their needs, everything that they need to run their business fluently. So I am pleased to be here today. I'm excited to hear the presentation from Jessica. I mean, I already have a little insight on what's going to be told, but I'm definitely excited to hear what all the information that will be delivered to you today. Nore?
Yeah, so my name is Honori Hernandez. I'm a business banking relationship manager with PNC. I've been with PNC for about 3.5 years and been in banking for quite some time. So I actually serve as more of a support role for Sean in terms of identifying clients that may actually fit in his segmentation. So that's pretty much my role with this. And it's also from time to time, if Sean's on vacation and we're assisting a particular client, I'll from time to time I'll jump in. But for the most part, yes, you get a package deal. You get the three of us together.
So today, just the part of today's meeting is just to go through again, share with you what we're seeing and hearing across the board, what has been most important on our clients' mind. Just a little education series around what we're seeing, what clients are experiencing, and how we can help eliminate that, mitigate those situations from happening. So as we talk about our cash management today, a couple of things that we just want to make sure that we focus on. A biggest point of conversation has been around the no contact strategy. We've now been pretty much living with COVID for really about a year now, and we've all had to adjust, change, come up with different ways of doing things, of just making sure that we're keeping our customers, our employees, and our suppliers and vendors safe during this time. Because as you know, and I know, that COVID has been in the highlights of everything. And so eliminating that contact has just been a way that we can ensure that safety. The second area is going to be around how can I help expedite receivables, keeping our cash flow top of mind. Receivables, we have heard a lot in regards to they're not being paid on time, or just even worse is with the postal services extra delayed, it's taking longer than normal. So how can I expedite that process? Limiting the check writing. So this is the biggest one. Third and foremost is our fraud mitigation tools. So it's going to be looking at ways that we can mitigate fraud from happening. Unfortunately, when it comes down to fraud, check fraud is our most common type of fraud that's out there. So if we can help limit how many checks are out there, we're helping limit the exposure of your account information. And as it states here, Atlanta is in the top 3 in the nation for business banking fraud. So what we want to do is, again, educate you guys on what we're seeing, what we're hearing, and make sure that we're being proactive against fraud and really doing our due diligence at monitoring our accounts and being able to stop any sort of threats that do come through should it ever happen. Okay, next slide. Expediting our receivables. So ways that we can go about offering different payment solutions for our clients that we know is going to help get their payments in faster, get the money available to the client faster, so that you guys can take care of any sort of payables features that you need to. What ways can we take care of expediting our receivables? So I have a question for you guys on the line, if you will participate at all, but what is your payment method of choice? Like when you have a bill that comes in the mail, how do you pay it? Do you know where your checkbook is? What does that look like in your household? So, those are the things. It's bill pay, writing checks. There's also options out there, credit card, sending ACH payments. And that's where, again, just how we can go through and expedite that process. And a lot of what we're seeing, especially during COVID, is the convenience of having some sort of payment portal to be able to offer your clients. So being able to have that pay now button right on your website. What that has been doing for all of our customers out there, just offering out a 24/7 customer convenient way to make a payment to you. I'll tell you, when I get a bill in the mail, I first and foremost look for a way that I can pay online. And if there is, I go right online and I make that payment just to get it done and out of the way. I look at it kind of like your doc bills that come in the mail. You've got that website right there, go right online, boom, it is done, it's paid for, nothing else I have to worry about. However, if there's not that option, then I have to find my checkbook, which I don't have very many checks because I just do not write checks. Or like you said, Mary Kay, we have to go online, do bill pay through the online banking. So it just gives you ways that you're offering out a professional look to your customers and getting them to pay online. And it has been proven that if you get a bill in the mail and you've got a way that you can go right online, pay now, or pay right from your phone when maybe you're sitting in the office waiting for your next appointment, it just gives a 24/7 convenient way for your customers to make payments. And so again, the biggest thing we've seen, unfortunately, a lot of talk around is the slowdown with the postal service. I've had tons of clients that have told me it's taking 2 to 3 weeks for their own checks to be received to the receiving party. So, what that does then is it kind of ties up cash flow, because if you're waiting for money to come in and then turning around and having to wait for it to clear your bank, it's just taking an extra few steps in regards to getting that money available to you so you could turn around and make payments to your vendors and suppliers, and then also employees. And then I know we're working on vaccinations out there. We're having all these different strands that are coming to light. We see in the news regularly. So there is that chance of, what happens if we do face another lockdown? Are your processes in place to be able to keep your banking processes going? If people are working remotely, do you still have ways to get your deposits in? So looking at different options and avenues to get your receivables in has been bringing a lot more light at the end of our tunnels and different hurdles that have been having to be crossed, and just being able to make that part of the business a lot less stressful. So that would be something, again, most of our clients are offering that out to their customers as just a way to help expedite the receivables process and giving that as a solution.
Hey, Jess, real quick. I know, obviously, since the pandemic started a year ago, this is something where we've seen an uptick in customers inquiring about it, some actually moving forward with signing up for it. Generally, how long does it take to get them set up for one of our products?
Great question. If you're looking to get set up with an online payment portal, typically it takes about 4 to 6 weeks for setups, just due to the fact that I know here at PNC, we build it from start to finish, and we would help with matching the color scheme, design scheme. So we build everything from scratch, and then we tailor it to our clients' needs. So what features they want when it comes down to drop downs, whether an invoice number needs to be required, etc. So it does take about that 4 to 6 weeks. All right. Last but not least is our big topic of today, and it's all centralized around what are you doing to protect your account? What protections do I have in place when it comes to my account number and routing number? Because unfortunately, fraud seems to be continuing to rise year after year. And as of this year, it was last year, as of last year, 84% of small businesses were impacted with fraud. So it just goes to show that unfortunately, there is fraud. It's out there. And as technology gets better, it gets easier for us. We have business life be done easier for us again. But at the same time, it is allowing different fraudsters and hackers to get more smart and tricky, learning and getting that information. So a couple of questions to ask you guys, how many hands are touching your checks before they're cashed? On average, they say about 9 different set of hands are touching your check before it is fully presented to the bank for collection. And then what about phone calls that you've received in regards to, hey, I never received your payment? Mail fraud is a very big thing that we are seeing and continue to see. So we always see a spike and an increase when it comes to holiday times. And, people are going through looking at mailboxes, trying to collect different pieces of mail that they have a feeling that there would be a check in, just as a way to obtain that account information. And listed here are two different scenarios in the area. One was in Snellville, the other one was in South Fulton County, of fraudsters that were out there that had taken the checks in the mail. One was a mail carrier that was taking those checks, and what they're doing is trying to get that information for bank fraud, identity theft. That's what people are looking for. And that's where, unfortunately, when again, I know as check writing is a very easy, a common way to make payments, but it's also the easiest way that a fraudster can get your information, because every check that's written has an account number and routing number at the bottom of it. So that's where you ask yourself, how can I change that? What can I do to protect my account information? If check is the preferred method, okay, well, what measures can I put in place to help protect that from happening? So these particular scenarios, as I read through them, the bottom one in South Fulton County, it was $32,000 in checks that were all stolen. So that's how real it gets. And, unfortunately, it happens regularly. I just had a conversation with a client I had talked to last week. As they went through what they thought was one thing of fraud, ended up being over $17,000 in fraud happening. So ask yourselves, what would happen to your business if you experienced a loss like that? Yes, we can go through, file a dispute, work on getting your money back, but unfortunately, this happens quite frequently. And could you keep your doors open if $17,000 was tied up in a dispute as it was being investigated by your bank? So that's where we encourage you to be proactive versus reactive when it comes down to the protection of your account information.
Jessica, are you suggesting that people should not use traditional paper checks?
It is something that as a bank, we do try to talk to our clients about getting away from. So if you've got another means for making payments, credit card or doing it electronically via ACH, we always recommend that, because again, if you do it by a credit card and something were to happen to that information, that's your bank's money, or that's that particular financial institution's money being tied up. They will close the card down, send you a new one. And same thing, or excuse me, not same thing, but if it happened with a check, that ties up the personal money that's in the checking account. And then ACH is a great option that we've been seeing a lot more of, because when you make a payment electronically, the receiving party doesn't receive your account number and routing number. And then it doesn't have to go through the mail where there's a mail carrier person. There's people within the postal service. There's all these different people who touch your mail before it gets to the receiving party. And then any other hand that might be in the business. So a business you worked with for maybe 15, 20 years, you have all the loyalty, but it just takes one employee that might not have the best motives in mind to come in and would have access to your information because it's right at the bottom of the check.
Yeah,
So,
and Jessica, let me just add something else to that, and which those are all very, very good points. One question that I have for everybody on the line is, when was the last time you ordered a check from a printer or one of those providers, whether it's Vistaprint or another company that you use to print your checks, and what type of, and I'm sure that this has changed over the last couple of years, but what kind of security measures do they have in place to ensure that the right person is ordering the checks?
Great points. And what people don't understand is, a lot of times with fraud is it is an internal record or internal person who does have and take advantage of that, because they're thinking it'll go unnoticed.
Well, I'll try with Jessica and I. We had a situation with one of my clients, back in December, whereas he had pretty much over $20,000. Is it over 20 or under 20? Just trying to remember. Over checks being written that he didn't have any clue. It went back a few months, and lo and behold, when I followed up with him recently, he said he was able to figure out the situation, and he said it was someone that worked internally for him. So a lot of the times, you do have the bad guys that's outside of your organization, but then unfortunately, you do have folks who are within your company that they're not really thinking about the well-being of the company as you would as an owner. So that's why it's really good to put these precautions in place to ensure your accounts are protected.
Yeah, and once again, with the whole check writing, this really the biggest concern, as Jessica was alluding to, is your routing number and your account number are constantly being exposed. Even if you go through the online banking bill pay, many cases, in some cases there may be electronic transactions, but in many cases, what's happening is a check is being cut out on your behalf with your checking account number and routing number on it. So it doesn't give you that extra level of security. It just helps expedite the payment and making sure, and from an online banking, those type of payments, what the best part about that in terms of from a reconciliation standpoint is you don't have to worry about the check having to clear because the funds have already been drafted out of the account. So that's really the only additional benefit that would give you. But ideally, we urge a lot of our clients to use electronic methods to pay their vendors, so that this way it can protect their operating account.
Exactly. Great points. And I'll kind of share another story that I had. So just to kind of echo what Anuri and Sean are saying is, not always is it somebody outside of the organization. And I had a client, actually it was up here in Michigan, who got a call one day from one of their vendors, and got a call directly and said, "Hey, we are missing a payment from you." And they were super confused because they had seen the invoice. It came across their desk. They had signed the check to pay that invoice. So they know that it had been paid. Well, lo and behold, what it was is the office manager who was responsible for providing the invoices and taking the checks. She was taking the checks and altering them and putting them into her own name. And this was a family friend 20 years. So they went back, what they thought was about $10,000 in fraud. Overall, had found out this person had been doing it for over 5 years, and it totaled over $96,000 in fraud. So at that point, internal fraud is one thing that banks do not protect you from. So that is something that does have to go a legal route. You have to take legal action. So that, we just stress the importance of, there's always great bookkeepers and office managers that you can have out there helping you with your finances. being able to just delegate, make your life easier, but make it to where, again, you're still keeping that eye on what is going on your account. Maybe even having dual control put in place, just again to help protect you, because unfortunately, when people have access to this information, we might be best friends for the 20 years, but that doesn't mean that they're not willing to go the lengths to try to take full advantage of you. And in that case, again, it was over 5 years of taking advantage of the fact that this person trusted his office manager with their checks and turned around and was writing them to themselves. So it does happen. That's something we see on a regular basis. And so the whole point of this education series is to let you know what is happening out there, what you're seeing, what we're seeing and what's being done about it. I talk to a lot of clients regularly who have had fraud on their accounts. And then they're going through the hassle of, well, now I need to close my account and open a new one, or I need to do this and do that. When really you don't. There are a lot of different fraud protection tools out there. And I'm not saying just here at PNC, but everywhere. There are ways to protect your accounts from fraud to where you're not in that reactive mode, you're in the proactive mode. And I always say, think of it like your homeowner's insurance. It's there, it's designed to protect you. We hope you never have to use it, but we want to make sure the right measures are put in place so that way, if something happens, it can quickly be rectified. It can quickly be changed and stopped and sent back to where it came from. So you're not going the route of legal action, closing the account, opening up a new one, etc. Here's my being reactive. So being reactive, unfortunately, does mean it's too late. That means you've already been exposed to fraud. So again, let's be proactive. Being reactive, again, that means the information has already been out there. It's been exposed. So again, every check you write has your account number and routing number on there. Every incoming ACH payment means that you have provided your account number and routing number to somebody so that they can pay you electronically. Or every vendor that you work with who has asked you for your account number and routing number, they have full access to your information. You want to make sure that you are protected before it's too late. Because like I said, technology is a great thing. Without technology, we wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation from my home during the pandemic. And it's great, but unfortunately, fraudsters are out there. They are getting trickier. You see it in the news every day. You get text messages coming through, just trying to get you to give your credit card information. Another big one we're seeing is email. One thing I would strongly urge for you is if your company does wires and you have a vendor that you wire regularly, if you ever get an email that asks you to change the account number, pick up the phone and reach out to them. That is a big, big issue that we are seeing right now, where what fraudsters are doing are creating email addresses that are very similar to your vendors, maybe changing it by one letter or just one letter that doesn't catch your eye, and hoping to catch you in a rush and off guard to where they're then getting your account number and routing number they're then having you change where you're routing the wire to, and they're getting the funds into their account. I've seen it regularly. So one thing that I always tell my clients who are sending wires is if you get an email saying, hey, can you please update your information, send the wire to here, pick up the phone and call first just to make sure. They're never going to be mad at you for saying, why don't you trust me? Why don't you do this? This is a great way, again, that you're being due diligent about your account. You're making sure the information is protected. And at the end of the day, we're making sure the money is going where it should be going.
Jessica, it seems like it's just a lot of common sense that sometimes people are just in too much of a hurry and they, make mistakes that could easily have not been made. Is that what you find?
A lot of times, yes. A lot of times it is just, making sure we're due diligent about it. We're not in a rush. We know business owners they're busy. They're wearing a lot of hats. If you're doing the finances as well as the workout in the field, there are things that just, you get going too fast and you miss it. Very much so. A lot of it is also just the fact that, we always want to trust everybody that's there. And there are good people out there. I will not deny that. A lot of good people. Unfortunately, there's a lot of bad people. And if they've got access to the account numbers and routing numbers of your business, that's all they need to take full advantage of it. And if you've relied solely on trusting them to where you're not double checking, just to make sure you know what's clearing your account, is how people are able to, quote unquote, fast one from somebody from seeing it. So that's where at the end of the day, it's just to bring awareness about this, the ways that people are taking advantage of business owners and are trying to slip it under that radar to where you're not touching it. And that's what we want to make sure of, is that that doesn't happen to you. So putting in the controls, dual controls. If you've got an office manager, perfect, but make sure you do check those checks as they're clearing through, because at the end of the day, you know, they probably wouldn't do anything, but it also isn't necessarily them. It could also be the receiving party or an employee within their company who gets that information and are able to steal it and do the fraudulent things with it. I'll tell you, the other biggest thing that I see are payroll checks. Payroll checks is a huge way that we see a lot of fraud. So if you think about your employees that you're writing checks to, you know, again, I'll go back to technology. You know, it's not the way it used to be. Checks do not have to be presented to a bank. So now we have scanners out there that a lot of business use to get deposits in. Then you've got people who are taking pictures front and back of checks. Well, if the checks are not disposed of properly, then whose eyes are able to see that, or whose hands are they able to get into? And then the biggest one is your employees that do not have a checking or a savings account. You know, they're taking their checks more than likely to a convenience store or a check cashing place. A lot of fraud comes out of there because the information is just in this convenience store with several other different eyes to see it. So a lot of it is their own due diligence of checking, making sure you're crossing your T's, dotting your I's, but then also looking for ways that you can do things without necessarily having to expose your account information.
That's great information. And so many of our members, you know, they're small businesses, and you know, the same person who's you know, in the office, they're doing all the office types of administrative jobs. So I think this is really important to share, and as a, you know, as a reminder to them as well,
Yep.
that they can't take their eye off of it. They've got to, you know, continue to be diligent. Thank you.
I have a question. Not sure if y'all can hear me.
We can, thank you.
Okay. I finally got it fixed. My question is on number 2. It says using a dedicated device for banking transactions. What is your response for people who use like PayPal, Cash App? We bank through Chase, so we use Zelle a lot. What are the risks involved in using those kind of apps?
So the good news is using those apps, and that's a great question. When using those apps, it's done as an electronic transaction. So any electronic transaction, the receiving party is not getting the account numbers and routing numbers. However, what I would say is who's got access to it. You know, if it's just you, that's perfect. You know, not too many people are obviously going to be able to fraud you if it happens. But if you've got an office manager, bookkeeper that has access to pay these payments on your behalf, we do see fraud when it happens through there. I personally haven't heard of any actual fraud when it comes to Zelle or doing the Cash App, because again, it's not exposing account information. What it is that internal controls. We want to make sure the right ones are in place where you can monitor what's going out, or if you've got, again, that office manager, bookkeeper who may be making payments on your behalf because they've got your online banking user ID and password, is making sure it's a two-step process. You've got them set up as a sub-user to where they maybe have access to set up the payments, but then you have that final approval before they go out.
Well, that was great. That was definitely great information. And anybody have any comments?
Yeah, just to, hey, this is Sean, just to piggyback on everything that Jessica and Nori was stating earlier. Business owners, you know, you work very hard to generate the revenue for your business, to manage your business. The last thing you want to allow is the fraudsters, as we like to say, is to enter through the back door and to try to deplete your account from the hard work that you put into your business. So it's one of those things where you don't want to, you know, I guess, fall victim of being reactive So it's definitely great and good to be proactive, because the last thing you want to do is, while you're sleeping, somebody's awake at night trying to figure out ways to get into your account. So to me, once again, you're working very hard, so you might as well complete the whole process and just make sure that you're being proactive and you're protecting your accounts.
Yeah, and one other thing I would love to add is, I've seen this many times, Sean. I'm sure you've probably seen this a couple of times yourself, where business owners are providing their login and their their login IDs and their online banking IDs and their passwords to certain employees. Right? I strongly discourage that. We have ways for, any institution, financial institutions has different methods of providing a level of access for that employee, where you can limit the amount of activity that employee can perform. For example, let's just say if a business has multiple accounts, right? But you only want your employee to just view it and not perform any financial transactions. You can do that. Or if you want the employee to be able to transfer money and pay bills, you can do that. Or if you want them to only be able to view a specific account, you can have that done as well. So I urge you not to provide them the administrator or the main online ID and password, because once again, not only can they perform certain transactions that you may or may not be comfortable with, but they can actually take your online ID, and from there they can actually create a secondary sign-on for someone else. And if you're not aware of that, then that's less control in your hand, right? So something to keep in mind if that's being done, or if anyone is listening to this and that's currently how one of your employees may access the account online, I urge you to change your password and provide that employee his or her own password and online ID. And the beauty of it is, if that employee leaves, it's so easy to delete and remove that access. You can do it from your laptop. Don't need to call anyone for that.
Great points. So once again, thank you, Jessica, for the presentation, and Anuri and Sean for your comments on this and the time. We will be seeing you again on February 17th, and then for the next month, March 17th as well, with some new topics to help with your business.
One thing I will close with, just for everybody that's listening, as you think about the things that you've heard on the presentation today, you think about the protections that you have put in place or what you would like to put in place. We're always here for resources. So please reach out. We're happy to discuss with you ways that we can help you, what we're seeing, what we're hearing. We want to be a resource for you as well. So again, we're here to help support you.
Thank you so much. Everybody have a great day.